All right, welcome to News Express, exclusively brought to you by Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper. It's a new week, and of course, it comes with a lot of really catchy headlines on Business AM this morning. Jumping right into the paper for the week, the very first headline, top in the front page, we have renewables, just 1/3 in Africa's electricity growth. Nigeria, with less than 1%, left behind in fast-paced energy transition. We have Morocco, Kenya leading the continent in global wind, solar boom. And then global energy's biggest sources are renewables. Well, I think my biggest question with this headline would be what Kenya and Morocco are doing differently, but we'll get into that in just a moment with the publisher of Business AM. Underneath that headline, we have this one, Analysts weigh in as Access Bank, Zenith old horse. Talking about Union Bank there. A quest for further market dominance seen, may not be transformational tie-up. More details there on the front page of Business AM. Of course, that one continues on page 2 of the paper. And quickly to the summary section where we have this one, Nigeria Air, $250 million from investors. On page 3 of the paper, the finance and investment segment, we have April's bullish run, a dead bounce. Yes, he's still going to take us into the market performance from last week. Over to the company and business segment now. Dangote Cement revenue rises 33.5%. That one's on page 23. And on page 14, we have this one on insurance and pension. 2022 for global insurance recovery. All of that and more you can find on Business AM this morning. Now it's time to get Philip Isakwa to join us this morning. He is the publisher, Business AM. Good morning, Mr. Philip. It's good to have you on the show.
Good morning, Rachel. Good to be back. Good to hear you once again. How are you doing?
That's right. I'm great. Thank you. How was your weekend?
Very good. Hope yours was good as well.
It was fantastic. Now let's talk about the tie-up. That's the second headline on the cover page. What more can you tell us about this move, and any final decisions yet by Access Bank or Zenith Bank?
No final decisions yet, Rachel. From what we are hearing, talks have been on for some time, especially when what's it called? The Atlas Mara, wanted to leave Africa, by selling down its equities, its investments across the continent, and recall that Access Bank in particular had been bullish, with regards to extending its frontiers outside of Nigeria, to the other African countries, so there had been some discussions, going on, but last week when this broke, talking with respect to Union Bank, there had been talk earlier on, about Atlas Mara's position with regards to its holdings at Union Bank, but never did anything come across the market that some Nigerian banks will be interested. So when this came up, it was really a big thing. Now, but what we've done is to go further, to really look ahead to what this might mean, for Access Bank and Zenith Bank looking at Union Bank. Recall our story talks about so many years ago, or perhaps a couple of decades ago, when Union Bank, First Bank, UBA, United Bank for Africa, and Afribank were the big players, the big boys of the banking industry, almost like a government unto themselves, and how after privatization, Union Bank took a long time to pick up, compared to what, for instance, UBA and the First Bank did, First Bank, the big elephant, we call this one the old horse, but you had the elephant which decided to be agile, and then, but Union Bank did not quite kick off as fast as the others did. So what exactly are these is Access Bank, or what exactly are Access Bank and Zenith Bank looking for in Union Bank? So we went to town to speak to analysts, and analysts are saying that all you can see is market dominance, But something interesting came up in speaking to an analyst who is very, very familiar with development, especially at Union Bank. Recall that what you call the Capital Alliance came in, before Atlas Mara came. Capital Alliance came in, into Union Bank. Capital Alliance was the one that actually were the ones that actually bought into Union Bank before they brought in Atlas Mara to take stakes in it, or they invited Atlas Mara to take stakes as well. So Capital Alliance did a great deal of job from what we're hearing from analysts, in terms of cleaning up the books of Union Bank. So it is from what we've heard, it is a much better bank at the moment, but not just that, it's the fact that it is still a very, very strong bank is number 6 in Nigeria, at the moment, and it has a whole lot of clientele. One London-based analyst told us that they might be looking at the old money. Some of these banks still have customers, the old, what they call clients, the old money clients, and Access Bank, Zenith Bank might be looking out for those clients, to boost their expansion, So good thing, from what we've seen. What some analysts they say, it might not be transformational, not the type you saw when Access Bank did the merger with Diamond Bank that immediately catapulted them, to the Africa, their position in Africa just blew up, and then gave them this impetus to go into Africa the way they have done so bullishly. Herbert Wigwe perhaps is seen as a major champion, M&A champion, going across all over Africa, trying to get some assets into Access Bank. So that's what you see. So it's a wait and see situation. So when Atlas Mara does decide, what to do with his talking to these two people. There's somebody. One other analyst did say, this Access Bank and Zenith Bank are smart. They have smart people. They will look at the books thoroughly, and then we'll see what happens from there.
All right. Okay, let's move over to the very first headline now on the cover page. I can see that among Africa's leading economies, Morocco and Kenya had the highest levels of wind and solar, respectively, generating 16% and 15% of their electricity from wind and solar in 2019. What are these countries doing differently, and where is Nigeria in all of this?
That's been a big challenge, So you have electricity challenge in the country, and then you have a lot of people looking into Africa, looking at Africa from globally, and then you have the African Development Bank continuously harping on the fact that renewables in terms of electricity generation is the way to go, But what has happened, is that there has been a great deal of focus, in terms of when you talk about countries like Morocco, Kenya, and then Egypt, especially when you talk about the climate for investment, there's a lot of money out there. From what I found out over this weekend, there's a lot of money out there, looking for renewable assets to invest in, but it appears as if the environment in Nigeria has not been put in place. We talk about enabling environment. If you want to do something positive to attract if you want to attract foreign, investment into a particular space, then the climate must be prepared. The environment must be right for investors to come in. So you will look at Morocco, you will look at Kenya, you will look at Egypt also. Egypt having some of the biggest solar facilities in Africa, in terms of investment. But I guess you will look at the environment under which they have set up, to welcome a push into renewables. And you find that those countries are doing the right thing. Morocco, Kenya, Egypt are doing the right thing, But Rachel, I keep talking about laziness and policy laziness. By that I mean that what you find that policy is tilted into areas where there isn't going to be much work to do, whether work in terms of brain power or whether work in terms of strategy in creating the environment for that to happen. So you see reliance on what's it called, fossil fuel, generating electricity through gas and whatever. Every attention is put in that direction, and then you forget that renewables are it's an area that you can really also focus on to generate electricity. We have an electricity challenge, electricity problem in the country, so you must explore all the avenues to generate electricity, and you must create the environment for investors to come in, or for money to be put in, and for people to be able to earn money when they have done that. So a lot of things responsible for this, why renewables isn't taking up very, very well in Nigeria, but while you have Morocco, you have Morocco, Kenya, and perhaps also Egypt, having a boom. Solar, you talk about wind, they had, if you go to, there were talks in the past about some investment in Kano. We had the one about the Kano state government, Dangote, doing some projects in Kano, some years ago. But we haven't seen the outcome of all those investments, all those results. Why? Because the easy way out is always the one that is followed.
Right.
It's a difficult grind. It's a grind that will have to be embarked upon. If you want to achieve results. At 1%. In terms of the energy mix. When the world is transitioning. Very fast. Into the energy space in terms of the contribution to energy generation, and we are still bent on following a fossil fuel, pursuit, which haven't really given us the desired results.
Right. Now, all of these performances aside, now, what would you recommend? Seeing that households and businesses are taking a beating, if you ask 9 of 10, if you ask 10 businesses now, aside capital generation to start a business, they will tell you the monies we spend in electricity alone, is a huge chunk. So what should be the way forward now for Nigeria?
That exactly is, you just hit the nail on its head. If you were to calculate, and this has been done for a very long time, if you were to calculate how much it's spent on generating electricity privately, you find that the cost is a lot higher than if you were to increase tariff. You understand? Sometimes when tariffs are increased, there's always a hoopla about it. But what is spent on generating electricity through the numerous generators that we have and the numerous private effort that we all put into it is a lot higher. So it's about creating the environment. It's about having a sense of purpose. It's an emergency situation. You cannot have a decades and decades of poor electricity supply, including in terms of generation, in terms of distribution, and then not find a need to to make it an emergency. If you ask across the world, every sector of the economy, they will tell you that if you don't solve electricity problem, you are not going anywhere. Especially in terms of industrialization, there are plants, there are plants, manufacturing plants, that cannot do without electricity for 1 second. So they have to ignore even the national grid because it's not reliable, and they do not want their manufacturing process to be disrupted and waste a lot of money that they put into it. So there has to be Rachel. Nigeria needs to declare emergency on electricity, and there needs to be a sense of purpose, and in short, when you are talking about setting up a task force, but it's time. I mean, Nigeria should be setting up a task force, with milestones to say electricity problem must be resolved within XYZ. Remove the corruption that has gone on over the years, with loads of money spent on this and that without producing results. So declare emergency. They must declare emergency on electricity, and there must be a sense of purpose to reaching a conclusion with regards to resolving the electricity problem. Looking at all the different factors that have hindered the achievement of that goal.
All right. Let's move over to the domestic equities market now. I believe if we dwell on this one, we'll talk about it for the entire session. But over to the domestic equities market now.
You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
On page 12 of the paper, of course, we have details on how the market went down from last week. Can you quickly take us through that?
Yes, Rachel. What we're seeing is that you see profit taking again. You are still in the what's it called in the season of releases, of what's it called
earnings releases, yes,
results, earnings releases, and so people are taking profits. When these releases begin to happen, you find investors, looking at how. Haven't waited. I mean, bought shares over a 1 year. Some of them 1 year period. Or even some who went in. Just before what's it called? The results started coming out. And seeing that good results produced produced a rise in equities prices. Investors tend to cash in. To say. And those are investors that play the market excellently, looking for opportunities for 1 or 2% or 3% gains, in terms of equities prices. So that's what you've seen, that's been very, very, because people are taking profits, so the market wasn't as bullish as it were.
Yeah.
The previous week you had a bullish performance, and then with this giving some results that came up, talk about MTN, talk about Dangote, talk about Stanbic IBTC, WAPCO, that's led the market to lose 415.9 billion, in the week, from people trying to make profit from their holdings in equities. So that's what you have seen, in the past week, and there's talk that bargain hunting will continue, when you have these things happening, people continue. I mean, it does last for some time before the market rebalances itself, But when it begins to happen, you have the earnings releases week, period, and then what you find is that people are continuing to hunt for bargain. Prices drop. They move in. Prices rise, they want to cash in, as a result of that. We're likely to see that continuing this week.
All right.
So that's what analysts are saying.
We'll see how this goes, and we'll see how the market reacts this week. We'll get back to you on Friday for developing stories this week. Thank you so much, Mr. Philip, for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Rachel, for having me.
And that was Philip Isakwa, the publisher Business AM, Nigeria's fastest growing financial and business newspaper.